Jealousy, control, and insecurity, the enemies of your relationship. Welcome to today's topic, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Coach Tobias Forst, founder of Achilles Life Coaching, decade-long recipient of narcissistic abuse, and I've saved myself from it. And I accompany you on your journey to your personal freedom. Today we will go through the markers that make a healthy relationship very difficult for you and your surroundings. That is jealousy, control, and insecurity. And to delve more deeply into those matters, we will take the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. I will keep the story brief. After I've elaborated on the story, we will go into my personal interpretation. There are several out there, but the one today you probably haven't heard yet because it's mine. And we will take a few other aspects into consideration, how you can handle your partner's insecurity, will to control, and jealousy in order for you to find which type of relationship you actually want to live in. So the story of Orpheus and Eurydice in a very abbreviated form is the following. They're a couple, and Eurydice, the woman, she gets bitten by a snake, and interactions with serpents, snakes always have a deeper meaning. We will come to that in the interpretation part, after the story part. Eurydice dies. She descends into Hades, the underworld, which is also the same name as the lord of the underworld, the god Hades. So Hades rules over Hades, not to confuse those two. And Orpheus just cannot bear it. He cannot bear having lost Eurydice. And one thing you need to know about Orpheus, he's basically what you could call the winner of Greece's Got Talent. He was the best singer and the best lute player that Greece has ever seen and known, and he's renowned, and he's very good at what he does. So he takes it upon himself, not willing to let Eurydice go, and endeavors on a journey into the depths of Hades to ask the Lord of Hades, Hades, please follow, to relinquish Eurydice so he can take her back up to the earth and have a relationship with her again. So he approaches the ferryman on the river Styx that separates the world of the living with Hades, from Hades, and he plays and sings for the ferryman, and the ferryman doesn't even ask a price because he was just on point and he was just such a good performer. After that, Orpheus encounters the three-headed black creature, the Hades hound, basically, named Cerberus. And he plays for this magnificent and dangerous being until Cerberus falls asleep. And after that, in the very depths of Hades, Orpheus encounters the two people, the two entities that have the power to relinquish Eurydice to him again. The lord of the underworld, Hades, and his consort, Persephone. And he plays and sings for them. The best performance after his recall. And so Hades is very, very relaxed and says, yeah, sure, go ahead, take her with you. But Persephone is a bit more constructive than Hades. And she says, yes, you can take her with you. She will follow you outside, upstairs, into the world of the living. But you must not turn around to look at her at any point. These are the rules. So Orpheus leads the way. Eurydice is being restored. She follows a few steps behind him. And he hears her steps, and the arc of the gateway to the world of the living comes closer. The light gets more luminescent by each step. And at some point, very shortly before crossing this threshold, he doesn't hear her footsteps anymore. Insecurity and the wish to control overcome him, and he turns around to take a look at her. And in that very moment, when their eyes meet, Eurydice is being pulled back into the underworld, Hades. And he has now lost her forever. Emotionally broken, he leaves Hades, never chooses a girlfriend or wife again, ever, and goes into social isolation of his own choice. So what can we take from that? Another possible, and today's interpretation from my part, is this. Any mythological interaction, well, let's say, be more precise, most interactions in mythology, wherever you look, with snakes or serpents, have a chaotic, a transformative, a changing element to them. Such could be the case with the snake bite that Eurydice receives, which leads her to her metaphorical death in this relationship. Maybe the Eurydice that was in a relationship with Orpheus did not want to continue this relationship. Maybe whoever she was until then passed away. Maybe the new Eurydice was in the process of emerging, and she did not see herself at the side of Orpheus. When it comes to Orpheus, he simply could not let go of losing her. So he literally went through hell and back to get his girlfriend back. He decided to approach and play for the ferryman on the river Styx, encounter the hellhound Cerberus with its 3 heads and play for it, make it fall asleep, and play for 2 gods in the underworld, Hades himself and Persephone. And he did not adhere to the only rule set that was given. The only rule set was, you must not turn around and look at her on your way out. While he endeavored on this path to get his girlfriend back, not once, ladies and gentlemen, was the woman asked if she actually wanted to come back. He decided to do that on his own, a unilateral decision. Only one decided for the 2. You could call this love bombing. Look at everything I've done to get you back. Then she follows, maybe lulled in by the love bombing 2.0. And Eurydice becomes doubtful at the very end, and she stops for a moment and takes a look at the walking form of Orpheus ahead of her. Maybe pondering if she actually wants to go through with this, literally through this arc leading outside to the world of the living, back to the relationship. And at that point, Orpheus lost his composure, became insecure, and looked back and doomed whatever he wanted to have with this woman. So whatever Orpheus might have perceived as the love that he wanted, his actions, his not adhering to the rule set stated by Persephone, you must not look at her on your way out. Orpheus alone is responsible for the discontinuation. About 2 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, a life coach, a very gifted and special man named Coach Corey Wayne, brought a certain quote to my attention by Thich Nhat Hanh. That's the correct pronunciation, if I recall correctly. And Thich Nhat Hanh's quote says, "You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free." Orpheus probably didn't love in such a way that Eurydice felt free because he needed to control her progress. And you all know these questions in relationships that are marred and scarred by jealousy, insecurity, and the will to control. Who are you with? Where are you? Why are you there? Why aren't you back yet? Or in Orpheus's case, why are you stopping? Why aren't you coming along? Why is this taking so long? And the frequency and the intensity varies with those questions directed at you, ladies and gentlemen, in your relationships. Insecurity, control, and jealousy. We will now talk about, all within the scope of interpreting this story of Orpheus and Eurydice, self-certainty, self-security, and being on a mission. And you can, ladies and gentlemen, you can interchange a Eurydice, the character of Eurydice, for a man or a woman, or Orpheus for a man or a woman. It doesn't matter. It needs to fit your particular situation. Had Orpheus been self-centered and calm, and on a mission, knowing that everything he's done so far is all he can do, that would have made him independent of that outcome, with the knowledge that he had done everything that was in his power. But he wavered, and he became uncertain, and he looked back, and by doing so, doomed whatever might have been possible for the two of them in the future. A few months ago, a personal, very good friend of mine told me about the concept of success in Stoicism. And this was a very, very enlightening story. Imagine, we're leaving the story of Orpheus and Eurydice on the side right now, briefly. Imagine a man, an archer, with bow and arrow. He's aiming down sights toward the target, and he loses the arrow. The arrow flies. When, ladies and gentlemen, is it a success? Is it a success if he hits the mark, if he hits the black inside, the circles within circles? When is it a success? According to Stoicism, the moment this person, in that case that man, fires the arrow, it is a success, because he has been training a long time to become very proficient in archery. He crafted the bow by himself, used the best materials, the best sinew, got the angles right. He took care of the sharpening and the feathering of the arrow. He worked out a lot, concentrated on breath work, gauging distance. And now the moment has come to fire the arrow. And with the knowledge that he has done everything he could that was in his power, success, according to Stoicism, is firing that arrow. Because after that arrow leaves the bow and the hand, there are many things that are outside of one's control, such as a gust of wind moving the arrow off course, a bolt of lightning striking down the arrow, striking down the tree where the target is attached to, someone approaching the target and moving it somewhere else. All of this is beyond the archer's control, and the archer knows that and is fine with it. He is outcome independent. Now back to Orpheus. He was not outcome independent, despite everything he tried, walking through hell and back. He became uncertain, unfocused, scarcity mindset, and he looked back because he didn't hear the steps. And maybe, just maybe, Eurydice was pondering if she actually wanted to go through with it and follow him, or decide on her own, because until that moment, at no point did she get a say, if that is what actually she too might have wanted. So let's recall, one more thing, ladies and gentlemen. So his violation of the rules, Orpheus's violation of the rules, you must not look back at her on your way out, can be interpreted afterwards when he doesn't take another girlfriend or wife and engages in social isolation. This could be narcissistic collapse. The supply was missing and there was nothing more to get him pushed up again or inflated enough again to continue. Now let's recall, for the conclusion of this video, ladies and gentlemen, let's recall Thich Nhat Hanh's quote that I heard from Coach Corey Wayne the first time in my life a few years ago, which is, "You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free." Whoever is incapable of adhering to that principle does not deserve your love. Whoever enters a relationship with you with the sole thought what they can get out of it for themselves has not understood what a relationship is about. And by not understanding what a relationship is about, they also, at the same time, relinquish any right to complain if things don't work out the way they want it to. So when it comes to the snake bite at the end of the conclusion, the metaphorical death of maybe your former self in the relationship you might find yourself in, maybe it's time that you shed your own skin of your former self. Maybe it's time for you to become clear in your mind and heart about how you use that snake bite, that bite of the serpent that yields an insight and a possibility for your transformation. What are you going to do with it? And your partner might not ask you whether or not you want to continue the relationship. They're in their mental Microsoft Excel sheet. I've done this, and that for you. I've sung for the ferryman across the river Styx. I've sung to a three-headed gigantic dog and to the god of the underworld himself. Love me right now. If you're in the position of Eurydice, whether you're a man or a woman, and you haven't been asked if you want that, if you want the same thing, it's up to you to decide what you want, ladies and gentlemen. You're under no obligation to follow that path, especially when you've been love-bombed and someone else, again, tries to control you and have you as the recipient of their uncertainty and deep, deep insecurity. It's your choice, ladies and gentlemen. Be your own hero and be your own heroine. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.